Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman complete their epic tale as the newly powered Enigma Force wielding Eddie Brock takes the fight to Knull, who does everything in his waning power to try and stop the Avatar of the Light from beating him for good. Donny Cates finishes up his grand Venom storyline in an action-packed and satisfying way, giving Eddie the chance to finally break his cycle of pain and stop it once and for all, saving the world and his son in the process and proving himself to be the hero. While I really do enjoy Eddie stepping up to become a full-on hero and even a full-on father to Dylan, I have to say just the insane amount of action and battles this issue had was the highlight for me. It was all done in grand schlocky ways, from magical axes being made from hammers and surfboards to beating the villain in the middle of the sun. It was all just wonderful and I couldn't stop smiling from the beginning to the end, something Donny Cates does for me on a constant basis. Ryan Stegman again gives us just a treasure trove of fantastic and awesome looking panels and spreads throughout the issue, amplifying the always great schlocky action of the series one final time, ending on a page that is both beautiful, hopeful, and even a little bit horrifying. King in Black issue 5 closed out Eddie Brock's giant event series that both gave us some of his best character development in the entire history of the character, as well as some of the most over-the-top action-packed sequences and callbacks to Cates' entire run on Venom and beyond. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. King in Black issue 5 finds the Silver Surfer confronting Noel, conjuring up a sword out of his surfboard as he tells Noel he remains unimpressed with his posturing, and the God of Light is there. Noel remembers hearing about that, but no matter how fast the light travels, darkness is always there. Noel creates his own weapon, saying that he will give Surfer a noble death. Norrin says that that might happen, but he won't be fighting alone as the Avengers assemble. Before they can attack though, something impacts the ground between the groups, saying that it appreciates the assists, but it can handle it from here. The being is the newly returned Eddie Brock, now imbued with the powers of Captain Universe, having chosen the form of Venom as his host. Noel is unimpressed with the God of Light and how it chose a host he's killed many times over, as Eddie knows that Noel is arrogant, pulling Mjolnir and the Surfer's sword to him, telling Noel that they can beat him. Thor is shocked that he was able to summon Mjolnir as Eddie combines both weapons, telling the heroes to protect the innocents as he attacks Noel with his newly created battle axe. Noel flees into the sky as the heroes are still shocked that Eddie Brock just made an axe out of a surfer's board and a Thor's hammer. They can hear something coming, so Captain America tells them that they aren't done, as Eddie meanwhile knows Noel is hiding and running as he battles more dragons that the villain throws at him, happy to deal with whatever Noel is throwing at him, since in the first time throughout this whole thing, he's finally having fun. Eddie kills the dragons with one swing of his axe as Noel attacks him through the storm of gore and bone. Eddie catches his sword though, melting it in an instant and destroying it, telling Noel that there will be no more swords or dragons or anything. The Avengers continue to push back the horde on the ground as Eddie says that now it is just him and Noel. The beings crash down into the city as Eddie gets the upper hand, but Noel merely laughs, knowing that he knows nothing of the darkness Eddie wants to give him, wanting to remind him of it. The infected Celestial springs to life again, grabbing at Eddie, but the cosmic powered hero leaps onto its shoulders, cutting its head clean off, killing it as he tells Noel that he doesn't need reminding of what the darkness is. Eddie quickly grabs Noel before he can escape, holding him over the edge of a building, hoping Noel remembers when he dragged Eddie up to the top of a building from the sewers, and all the pain and agony as he ripped Venom from him. Noel knows that he can't do this, as Eddie says that he remembers it all, plunging his axe into Noel's chest and ripping the symbiote from the being's body. Eddie says that he remembers the helplessness and the hopelessness, and most of all the falling. He throws Noel down into the city, going after him and telling the villain that once he hits the ground, he's going to get back up since they aren't done. Eddie tosses the axe away as the beaten Noel says he cannot win since the darkness will always live in Dylan. Eddie flies into a rage, grabbing Noel and speeding towards the sky as the villain says that he will never be free of him and the void is eternal. The beings smash through the dark dome covering the world as Eddie unleashes the light onto Noel, burning his face off as he races towards the sun. Eddie knows that there there will always be darkness and they might be swallowed by it and lose, doomed to drown in a kingdom of black, but he doesn't care, knowing this is for Dylan. Eddie takes Knull deep into the sun, obliterating the villain once and for all in the immense heat and pressure. Eddie leaves the center of the sun as the Enigma Force talks to him, wondering if he can feel it. Eddie can feel the voices calling to him as the Force says that he has done it, and they are singing to him, since with Knull gone, his hive is now free. On Earth, the freed vampires celebrate their release, knowing the vampire nation of Chernobyl will now be recognized. Blade continues his assault on them as they turn back to fight him, overwhelming the hero who tells the others he can deal with this. Suddenly, the dome over the Earth is broken up and the light shines through, killing all of the vampires instantly. The team radio into Blade, asking if they are all clear, and while he knows little about the symbiotes they were fighting, he thinks that they are. Thor and Surfer meanwhile find the axe, calling their respective weapons back to them, and the axe splits, reverting back to Mjolnir and the surfboard, as both heroes know that the battle has been won, but Nora knows that things won't ever be the same. Eddie soon returns to Earth, surrounded by the heroes, who he tells that Knull is finally dead. Eddie rushes to his son, only to find him overcome with a pain from the darkness within him as it tries to break out. The man holds his son, telling him that it's going to be okay and that he loves him. Dylan says that it hurts inside and burns, and Eddie knows as his hand glows. The man plunges his hand into his son's chest, knowing that it hurts, but he pulls the darkness from within, squashing it and destroying it for good. Suddenly, Eddie's costume disintegrates as the Force tells him that he's done well, but they must leave since he doesn't need the light to protect him anymore, and he has a new role now and has become something else and something new. Venom suddenly speaks up, saying that they found Eddie again. Dylan asks what's happening as Venom asks if he can feel what's happened, returning to Eddie once more. Eddie tells his son to stay there and he'll be right back as he can feel the hive, but he can't understand them. Spider-Man doesn't understand what's happening as Eddie takes to the sky with the symbiotes following him, wondering why they are chasing him, but Dylan doesn't think that they are. Venom says that the symbiotes are speaking to Eddie in an ancient tongue because he defeated the Void and freed their kind, and Eddie is now the hive mind and the god of symbiotes and the new King in Black.